Welcome back to BioDD channel. Today we will be doing Biology IGCSE Paper 2, which is a multiple choice questions, and the category is extended. As you can see, the subject code is 0610 and the component code is 22. The series is October-November 2025. The total amount of time for you to do this paper is 45 minutes, in which you need to complete 40 questions. Each question carries 4 options and you need to choose the correct one. So let us start. I will try that the question should be discussed in a comprehensive manner so that the students should know how to reach to the correct conclusion if you are coming across to multiple choice questions in this way. So let's start. Question number 1. The photographs show 2 different rats, Rattus norvegicus and Rattus rattus. You can see there are 2 rats and they, to a great extent, look alike. But let's see, what is the question about them? Which statement about the rats is correct? You need to see the options. The rats belong to the same genus. The rats belong to the same species. The rats can breed together to produce fertile offspring. The rats do not share any of the same features. For this question, I can tell you one thing. It's a very simple question. And especially those students who do the first topic of binomial nomenclature and scientific naming system and all that, I think they will just be less than a second, I should say, they'll be coming to the correct answer. For instance, if you see option A says the rats belong to the same genus. Yes, true. And what is the genus? The first part of the scientific naming system, that is Rattus, and here also Rattus. So you can say, yeah, true. They have the same genus. If you go to the B part, the rats belong to the same species, which we will not agree. If you see the second part of their scientific naming, the one has Norvegicus and the other has Rattus. Of course, they are not matching. So B excluded. The rats can breed together to produce fertile offsprings. So if you remember, the main definition of a species is the organisms which can breed together to produce fertile offsprings. So what do you think? If Rattus norvegicus and Rattus rattus, do you think they are the same species? We will go for no. Why? Because species is telling the exact naming of the animal or a plant or an organism. So Rattus norvegicus is a different species and Rattus rattus is a different species. It means if they are not the same species, they cannot produce the fertile offspring. So we will not choose C option. Okay, what about D option? The rats do not share any of the same features. But if you look at the 2 rats, do you think they are sharing the same features? Yes, they are sharing. Okay, let's go for question number 2. Question number 2 says the diagrams show cells of organisms from 3 different kingdoms. If you see diagram number 1, you have been shown a cell with a nucleus. You can still see double membrane structure, and you can still see mitochondria in the cytoplasm. In diagram number 2, I think it's obvious for you people. It's bacterium. And again, double membrane structure, no nucleus. You can't see nucleus over here. Rather, the DNA is in the middle portion without any nuclear boundary. If you see number 3, you can see again a cell, but with the nucleus. The shape of the cell is irregular. It does not have a proper shape. Still, you can see cytoplasm with mitochondria all around. Okay, now which row shows the kingdoms for the organism cells labeled 1, 2, and 3? If you look at this diagrams number 1, 2, 3, number 2 is a bacterium or bacterial cell, and it is without nuclear boundary or nucleus. So very straightforwardly, if you look at this cell number 2, you can go for this prokaryote. Prokaryote. And you know what is prokaryote means? Prokaryote means without nucleus. Without nucleus. And bacteria are the best example. So in my view, for students who do the classification in a good way, they can reach to the conclusion or the correct answer very quickly. It should be B. It should be B. Why? If you see diagram number 1 shows fungus, and you know fungus has nucleus and has double membrane structure. So it has a cell wall and cell membrane. Prokaryote is simply a bacterium. It's the best example. As I told you, bacteria is the best example of prokaryotic kingdom. It means without nucleus. You can't see nucleus over here. And usually the diagrams which we can see and study in the books or in the past papers, the nucleus is shown as a darker part. Like for example, if you see over here, the darker part. And if you see over here, the darker circle over here also. But here, you can't see any single dark circle, which we can say is a nucleus. The cell number 3 is a protoctus. Protoctus, again, are the cells. They are single cell with the nucleus and with cytoplasm. But they have single membrane. It's a cell membrane. They do not have double membrane. So if you compare diagram number 1, 2, and 3, diagram number 1 and 2, they have double membrane structure. Look at this, the double membrane structure. And look here, double membrane. But in contrast to diagram number 1 and 2, the diagram number 3 has a single membrane structure. So we will go for option B, which is fungus, prokaryote, and protoctus. So very straightforward, very straightforward. Question number 3. The diagram shows a plant cell. A biologist wants to find out the number of chromosomes it contains. Which labeled part should be examined more closely? Again. Very straightforward question. Very straightforward question. If you look at this diagram, it is a plant cell, and the question is saying itself, it's a plant cell. It is a plant cell. And if it is a plant cell, you can see a double membrane structure. As you know, in plants, you have cell wall and cell membrane. Then you have the cytoplasm, the darker portion, which is a nucleus, and the central vacuole, which is a cell. So, which labeled part? So they're not asking you so much detail. They're asking you which labeled part. And if you see, there are four labelings: A, B, C, and D. A is nucleus, B is cell sap or central vacuole, and C is cytoplasm, and D is cell membrane. So which labeled part should be examined more closely if you have to study or find out the chromosomes? So there we go. Very simple. Very simple. And that is A. Why? Because A is a nucleus. Nucleus. And nucleus is the one where we need to see the chromosomes, or the chromosomes can be found in the nucleus. Sorry, I think I drew the line, which I have to erase. Yeah. Question number 4. Which term describe each structure? Which term describe each structure? Now, if you see, you have been given certain structures: brain, liver, and neuron. And then you have to say whether they are cell or a tissue, organ, what they are basically. So if we go for brain, can we say brain a tissue or organ? What do you think? Of course, it's not a tissue, it's an organ, because it's performing a particular job of sending the messages to different parts of the body and letting the messages to come back to the brain to analyze, for example. So we can't go for tissue. If we can't go for tissue, it means C and D, we will not go, exclude it. And please, students, remember that while doing multiple choice questions, especially in IGCSE or AS level even, exclusion is a very good strategy so as to jump to the correct option. So C and D, why we are ignoring? Because brain is not categorized as a tissue, it's categorized as an organ. Oh, that's the job is made simpler now. Now we have to choose from A or B. So if brain is organ, what about liver? Again, liver is making it possible to do a particular job. It has many jobs, but of course it's not a tissue, it's an organ. Yes. Now we are very close to identify the correct option. What about neuron? Neuron is a single cell. It's a single cell. So it's a cell. So why we are not choosing B? Because of liver is not a tissue. It's not a tissue. It's not a tissue. So we will go for A. So your correct option, your correct, I should say the answer is A. Question number 5. The diagram shows the order of bases. Now, what we are coming across, the bases, and you know what are the bases: adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine, along part of one strand of DNA. So if we talk about DNA, you have four bases, you know that: adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine. You have four bases. So you have been given some sequence. They have been given some sequence of the bases, and if you see, it's A, 𝐒𝐇𝐀𝐑𝐄. What is the question? The question says, what is the order of bases on the complementary part of the other strand? And you know, when we talk about DNA, you know, DNA has two strands every time. I'm not making this helical structure. You know, DNA is like sometimes you see in this way and sometimes you see in this way. So DNA every time is a double strand structure. It's not a single strand structure. So it's DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. Okay. Now what they are saying that this part is on one strand. If this part is on one strand, let me write it down for you. For example, if it's, let me go like, if it's A, what should be complementary to A? Should be T, you know that. Okay. Then if you have C, what should be complementary on other strand? On other strand, complementary to C should be G, as you know. Okay. And so on. So you have to see this sequence, A, C, T, T, A, G, A, T. Now tell me which option you will go for. With A goes T. So where is T? You will be finding T in two options, C and D. So there are two options, C and D, where you have most likely the answer is lying in C or D. So let's see. A and B excluded. Very simple, excluded. Now we have to see C and D. So after A is C. When after A is C, it's C will go with the G. Very simple. If C will go with G, I'm sorry, I have to do the blue color because it will be, yeah. Okay. So if you see this sequence, A, T, C, G, T, A, T, A, A, T, G, C, A, T, T, A. Here we go. Done. So, number 5, the correct answer is D. Question number 6, which substance is an enzyme? As you know, enzymes are biological catalysts which speed up the chemical reaction, which otherwise would have taken a long time, would have taken ages to complete the chemical reactions in our body. So enzymes are biological catalysts, as you know, and they are making the chemical reactions in our body very fast, super fast, you can say. What do you think? Fibrinogen, messenger RNA, pepsin, or saliva? So should we go fibrinogen? No, it's a protein which is actually making up the blood clot. Messenger RNA? No, it's not an enzyme. It is decoding the message of the DNA and it comes in your cytoplasm. Pepsin? Yeah, it's found in our stomach. Pepsin, which can work in acidic medium. Yeah. So A and B excluded. What about saliva? No, saliva contains enzyme, but itself it's not an enzyme. So we will go for C. There we go. C.